a podcast to honor the gods.
This better come with a sacrifice.
Deus Ex Media.
Content and Capable recognises the Indigenous people on the land of which we record this podcast on, the Bowendig people. We offer a respect to elders past, present and emerging, and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. Sovereignty was never ceded. Welcome to Content and Capable, the podcast that sometimes tries to answer the question of why can't you take a 6-hour international flight for just one night and do a weekend trip in London? I'm Sam. I physically can't do that. It takes me about a day to get to London. But joining me, who's probably a little bit closer to London, is Michelle from Bear and Brutal. Hi, Michelle.
Hi.
You on?
Thanks for having me. I'm so excited that you reached out and that we get to do this.
I know. I'm so keen. Before we get right into the thick of it, could you explain to the listeners a little bit about what your podcast is about and what you get up to?
Of course. So, man, where do I even start? Bear and Brutal is the title of my podcast, and the tagline is, we're here to create a space where we can bare our feelings and be brutally honest. So I love me some play on words there. The mission of my podcast is really just to do just that, create a space where people can be vulnerable and have raw and real conversations. I love to highlight stories of resilience in people and see how they turn their pain into power.
Amazing. And what was the start? What kind of started this podcast journey for you?
That is such a loaded question. The answer is a long one, so bear with me. I am formerly a teacher. I was an educator, and gosh, I mean, if you know anything about teachers in America, it's just not quite the best support for teachers in the field, unfortunately. And I started teaching when I was 20. I literally turned 21 during my first year of teaching. And mind you, this is still COVID times. So
yeah,
student teaching during COVID, that was not normal at all. And my entire experience, everyone was telling me, you know, this is not normal. And I'm like, well, I don't have anything to reference. So this is my normal. Like, you keep telling me that, but it just sucks. So anyways, all that's to say is first year teaching, school year starts around August, right? September, there's a school shooting at the high school down the street from where I taught. And we were on lockdown the entire day because we thought that the shooter was going to come to the middle school we were at because it was so close. It was walking distance. And that was quite traumatic. When I say this, I laugh, but it's just a coping mechanism. It was definitely traumatic when it happened. But my crazy ass was like, it's fine. I'm okay. Let's go for another year. And so I ended up staying there, and second year was a bit better with my students. I loved them. Unfortunately, though, incidents revolving gun violence still came about, and my mental health was just absolute shit. I felt like I gave everything to the profession, and when I came home at the end of the day, there was nothing left for me to be a good daughter, a good sister, a good girlfriend, good to myself even. I was just burnt out and madly depressed. And there's a point in time where I was like, what the heck? I'm 23 years old at the time. Why? I'm so young. Like, life is, how is this my life right now? And so, anyways, long story short, ended up leaving. It was a really tough decision because I didn't leave because I didn't hate it, right? I left because it was for my mental health. I had to put myself first, and ended up in this weird lost time where I was like, okay, I quit my job. I'm very much not a spontaneous person. I always plan everything. And so for me to make that jump was just insane. And so I was really lost. And in that time, the podcast was born. I found that since I was going for so long, I didn't allow myself the time to process through all of the pain and the trauma that had occurred up until that point, not just with teaching, but in general, in my own personal life. And when I was in that time of rest, and it forced me to really come to terms and take inventory of all the things that I had been pushing aside. And this podcast kind of started as an outlet for those things. And now it has turned into a space to connect with others who may have gone through similar things. And yeah, it's been great.
Yeah. It's such a fascinating, and I hate saying this because it's very generalisy, but like it is such a common story I find with a lot of my peers around this age group. You know, for context, I'm 22, and everyone who is older than me is like, you are living in the prime of your life, you're supposed to be having so much fun and really enjoying what you do and full of energy. And there are, it's not all the time, but there are moments where it's just like, I am not enjoying this. This is the medicine I've got to swallow to get to some idea of comfortability or success or happiness further along. And it's frustrating, to be honest. Like, and sometimes you read books about like people in their 20s, or you see videos. Where did I see? On TikTok last night, I saw someone for like their 22nd birthday was like, let's just create a music festival in this field. And so they spent like a week and a half creating like this massive like music festival venue for all of them and their friends to kind of have this massive party. Meanwhile, I am like, well, if you're next within the 500 kilometers of me, I will drive and I'll come and say hello to you, because I haven't seen anyone in a long time. And you know, it's like these weird, like, oh, all of a sudden we're adults. And I definitely think, I don't know, COVID, like the whole idea of like, this is not normal and, you know, things will get better soon, and not having like any factor on what looks to be normal, I think it's definitely like one of the stepping stones to like going, well, actually, I don't think anything about this is normal. Right.
And they say that we lost 2 years of our life during COVID. I turned 25 this year in August, and they say like your age is like -2, so technically I'm like 21. I turned 21 during COVID, and so we were just robbed of that time. And I look around and I see people around my age, and they're in such drastically different phases of their lives, and I'm like, what's going on? Like, how are you on your second kid already? And I can't even decide what cream cheese I want for my bagel. Like, and it just makes you feel so not good enough. And it makes you question your path in life. I don't know if that's your experience too.
Yeah, no, 100%. It's definitely been one of those things as well. Because we were all online, you know, theoretically, the cohort of people that you surround yourself in as you move through life are around the same life stage as you, theoretically. I look at, not necessarily my parents, because they seem to be the exception more than the rule sometimes. They had children at the age of 22, so I don't even want to think about that, to be honest. But, you know... But like, if I look at like the people that they surround themselves with, they're similar life stages. They've had children, or they've got careers, or they're working on, you know, paying down their mortgage, or, you know, these very adult things that people do. And I look at the people I've surrounded myself with. I started university at the start of COVID, so I didn't even get to surround myself with a group of like-minded adults. You know, you got to remember that when we go through high school, these are children that you don't necessarily agree with. You're not in the same, you know, headspace as. A lot of the time, that's what tertiary education really does well, is you find your people. I had 4 weeks of that, and then we went into lockdown. And I was really lucky. The end of it was really great. I managed to, you know, find people I really connected with. But because COVID kind of had flattened all the distinction between different, age groups and different life stages. I'm 2 years graduated university, and a lot of my friends are just about to graduate or still have another year or two. And it's like, wow, you guys have still got, I've just gone through this journey of finishing university, trying to decide what my life is about, finding what I like and what I don't like. And on the other, I have really good friends of mine, and, love them to death, but who aren't there. And I think that's been such a frustrating thing, because you look at the people around you for comparison often.
Yeah. And it's so hard, especially, you talk about how you didn't really have a chance to surround yourself with like-minded individuals or have that comparison. So what do people typically turn to with comparison? I mean, social media. And so it's really hard to scroll on social media and see everybody's highlight reel and look at yourself and think, oh, what am I doing? Compared to all these other people.
And it kind of pressures you to put out that same unrealistic message of, my life is great, I'm having so much fun. Meanwhile, it's the third weekend in a row I haven't left the house. It's a... I always heard the whole message of, don't believe everything you see on the internet. A lot of what people put on Instagram isn't necessarily real. And I was like, oh yeah, whatever. I'll surround myself with people who are, putting out the real stuff. No, they're not. No one is. And it's been depressing. Realistically, it's so easy to just look at that and go, oh, why aren't I doing that? Why am I so far away from, being able to engage with this and connect with people? And I haven't talked about this on the podcast before, but I think one of the things that really brought it into focus was, over the past 2 or 3 months, my brother died. And all of my friends and all of my family, who all live 2 states away, it's 3 hours, it's about 6 hours worth of travel away for me. And I had to, make trips back up, for my family and then for the funeral. And it was frustrating because the people I wanted to surround myself with and spend days catching up with and enjoying the company of, I had legit 2 minutes at a funeral to say hello and say, how are you? What are you up to? I haven't seen you in 5 years, And I think really brought it into focus of, I don't help myself by living, 2,000 kilometers away from my family, but, still it brings it into this sharp focus of oh gosh, I really am just comparing myself to everyone around me.
Yeah. Well, that is so tough. I can't imagine what it's like losing a sibling. But yeah, I mean, it's also the funeral too. So it's kind of a awkward time for you to be like, hey, let's catch up on the last 5 years.
Yeah. It's like, hello, how are you? And they're like, well, how are you? And I'm like, well, I'm clearly not okay. But, let's just talk about something else real quick.
Yeah.
The funerals are the weirdest things. I've been to more funerals in the last year than I have most of my childhood. People seem to be dying. And I really, I'm going to joke about it because otherwise I'll cry.
Yeah.
But it's fascinating. My mum's family, bless them, I love them, have this great habit of just congregating amongst themselves and looking like they don't want to speak to anyone else. They're usually really great with speaking to everyone else, but they just don't make it look like it. We joked that we shut down half the primary school that I went to because all the teachers rocked up. The high school, and look, I love my high school. High school was a Lutheran high school, and Dad seems to have this opinion that Lutherans are quite staunch people, and they're very, very measured when it comes to things like grief. They've got to do it properly. There's a system in place, and you've got to do it right. They sent 3 staff members, and it's we've been at that school for 8 years now, and you sent 3 staff members. And I get it, if he was he was staff members who mattered and we were really appreciative of.
Yeah.
But I was like, shut down the school. Like, send everyone. Come on.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, I turn around and my dad's side of the family have rocked up. So my dad's siblings were all up for the funeral. It was, that was it. But I wasn't expecting my dad's aunts and uncles from his mother's side who, like, had flown up for the funeral. And it's like and I call them uncle and aunt, my aunts and uncles who I have not seen in 10 years. I'm like, last time I saw you, I was not even hitting puberty. And it's like, oh, how do we catch up on that? And, like, since I've become an adult, I've learnt things and I've heard things that, like, probably, like, family beef. Everyone's got some. Teachers who... One of the teachers rocked up. And at the moment, my younger brother is in, like, her class, and he's been complaining the last, like, month and a half about how, she's been really not helpful and really frustrating to work with. And she's there with the funeral, and her, like, daughter was in my year level and was friends with my brother. And it's like, oh, gosh, I'm, like, living in these two worlds.
Yeah.
It's interesting because it was a very, very... flashbang, 12 hours of, like, comparison and catching up with people that you hadn't seen in forever who have drifted apart or you just aren't in contact with it that regularly. And it almost felt like an Instagram reel of, like, look at all these things that people are doing. It
was like the reunion you didn't ask for.
What's the saying? The family only gets together for weddings and funerals. Yeah. I think we say baptisms and funerals, but, like, I don't think people have rocked up to a baptism in Yonks. So, anyway, enough about me and my group.
Hey, I can sit here and talk about it all day. But when you were talking about social media and how, like, people aren't really being truthful, I think that there is an emergence of more content creators and people who want to be vulnerable and real, but not enough. And so I think that was a big thing for me when I started this podcast too, is because I'm very much a perfectionist and I caught myself wanting to put my best foot forward. And, like, I mean, we all do. We want people to think that we're doing well. But
yeah.
That was one of my biggest goals, is like, okay, Michelle, you're a perfectionist, but this is your space to literally just be you, show who you are, show what you're struggling with. And if people judge you for that, oh, well, then they're just not the ones for you. But I am so grateful that I have come into contact with so many people online that appreciate that kind of space, and yours included. I mean, when you reached out to me, I was so honored. I was like, why does he want me to be on his show?
Look, and it's fascinating because it is so hard to kind of pull, like it's easy to talk about what we should be doing, but putting it into practice, I think it is so hard, and I don't know, what have you found over your journey, especially, being really honest with your feelings and thoughts? What have been some of the things you've learned?
Man, I think the biggest thing that I've learned is that your silence creates shame. And so to elaborate that a bit further is, I have deeply struggled with depression, anxiety, I mean, even PTSD from my teaching experiences. And I just held it all in. I didn't really advertise it to the world. I mean, who wants to? But that created just a festering sense of shame in me. Like, I'm hiding this from people because I don't want them to see that I'm struggling. I want them to see this pristine version of me. But that in turn made me feel bad about myself, like that this was something that I needed to hide. And through this whole journey, I've learned that just vocalizing these things and letting it out has been very healing for me, in that one, it's almost like exposure therapy, where I'm like processing through the emotions because I'm verbalizing it. And then on top of that, it's really healing hearing people connect or resonate with the things that I've gone through, or for them to say, oh my gosh, I didn't know that you were going through that. Like, I've also struggled with that too, or I'm also in this rough patch, and it brings me comfort knowing that I'm not alone. And so, yeah, it's been a really good lesson to learn that people are craving that connection. Like, people want for someone to stand up and be like, yeah, I'm struggling and this is what's going on in my life, so that they can feel less alone as well.
Part of me is very worried sometimes that sometimes we talk about this so much, and I think it's really great to talk about it, but there are points where the talking about, like, freezes you sometimes. I've definitely had moments where I've talked something through and I've put... actually, no, not that. Sorry, I've completely lost my train of thought. That is embarrassing.
You're fine. I don't know if this is the point you're making, but I agree in the sense that you can kind of desensitize yourself by continuously talking about trauma and staying in that state of pain, in a sense. I don't know if that's something you were alluding to. Yeah.
No, yeah, 100%. I think often, I think it's words and actions. It's like, sometimes it's great to talk about. And don't get me wrong, I'd much prefer to talk about my feelings than do anything about my feelings, to be honest. But there are points where, like, I think from time to time, we have to remind ourselves that we've got to do stuff as well. Like, it's like one of those things of like, oh, I've talked about how bad of a day I've had. Maybe I should actually just go for a walk just to clear my head a little bit more.
No.
It's so... And obviously, like, getting to that spot where you can physically address it, especially when you're not feeling okay, is a long journey. And don't get me wrong, I'm bad at it. But, like, I definitely think that that's definitely something I've learnt over the years.
Yeah. I was actually just talking about this yesterday with my boyfriend. I think that I was definitely that person that knew I was struggling with these things, right? But wasn't ready to take action to actually make myself feel better. Case in point, I've struggled with anxiety and depression for, I would say, most of my life. I could remember probably since I was like 7 years old. And I went through therapy in and out, tried all the things. And I talk about this in an episode of mine, but I matched up with a really good therapist. And it's really hard to find someone that aligns with you. And she was so great. She ended up ghosting me. It's a whole thing.
No! Not when you're like, oh, the therapist is great, I love it, and then they ghost you?
Yeah.
That's terrible.
Yeah, I was like, I have abandonment issues. Why did you leave me like this?
Oh, no!
Oh, man, I felt crazy. I had her personal number because that's how we did scheduling. And, on Facebook, it'll suggest you people based on your contacts, and I found her profile. It's on private, but I'm over here like looking to see if like the number of her posts goes up. I'm like, is she dead? Are you okay? I still don't know to this day what happened to her, but anyway, that happened. And the thing we were working on before she left is getting me on medication. And I remember saying, yeah, like, I'm such an advocate for medication. That's all fine and dandy, but I don't think I need it. Like, I'm fine. It's not that bad. And so for a really long time after that, I just avoided getting help. And it was because I had a lot of shame. I thought, oh my gosh, I must be really fucked up in the head if I need to take happy pills every day for me to be okay. And I had been dealing with these things for so long that it just felt comfortable to me. Like, I felt more comfortable being depressed and like not being able to get out of bed and being super anxious than the thought of me trying out the solution and like maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. That was more scary to me than just sitting in this. And so that's a really great example. Like it was really hard for me to realize, okay, yes, you've gone through some shit. You like, let's validate that, right? But now that we know that, what are we going to do and how are we going to get better? Like, you can't help someone that doesn't want to be helped. And that was a tough pill for me to swallow for myself. I was like, I'm the one who's perpetuating this cycle.
Yeah. It's so easy. Like, I've got siblings and I babysit them from time to time, and it's interesting. I have a conversation with my parents about, oh, they're not doing this, and I have a chat about where the kids are at in bits and pieces, because I've lived through most of what the kids have to live through, high school and bits and pieces. And it's, mum goes, oh, they just don't help themselves. It's like, you can take a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. And it's my parents' favourite saying. I hate it with a burning passion, but, it's there. Anyway, it was one of those very interesting things where I realised that it's all fine and good to talk about it in terms of other people, but then all of a sudden, as soon as you go, oh, wait, I'm not helping myself. Like, there are plenty of opportunities here to, like, get stuff done and sort myself out, and I am not doing that. And that is deeply unhelpful for myself. I'm self-sabotaging.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. It's fascinating because I've definitely been in that situation where I'm like, I don't need medication. I don't need help. I don't need to go to the doctor. I'm okay. I'm fine. And one of my friends who I lived with for a year and a bit, our favorite saying at each other whenever we've got to give each other some tough love is, with peace and love, and then you tell them exactly what you need to do. It's like, with peace and love, you need to go see a doctor.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, okay, you actually really mean it. It's not a joke this time.
I love that. I think I'm going to steal that and start using that saying.
It's great. But it's so easy to just go, oh, I'm fine, I'm still alive. I'm still feeding myself. But then it gets to a point where, like, and I think that if you're fine is like still feeding yourself, still looking after yourself, it's like, okay, so then what looks like I'm not fine for you? And I very quickly realized that when I couldn't like bring myself to have a shower or eat dinner, and it was like, oh, no, yeah, deeply I'm not fine.
Yes. And even thinking, my thing was, oh, I'm fine. Like, I am handling it. It's always been like this. But also taking a moment to think, well, what would it be like? How would your quality of life look like if maybe it was more than fine? Like, what if your life was actually enjoyable to live and you just weren't surviving? And that was an eye-opener for me, because I was like, oh, yeah, my quality of life is, yeah, I'm handling it, but that doesn't mean that it's not heavy or that, like, I could have better, and do I want better? So. Yeah.
And taking those steps often is like, seems like the most impossible thing. And if I could talk to myself 6 months ago, I would have said, I excuse my language here, just fucking go to the doctor. Like, it's just one of those things. It's like, you are literally not helping yourself. I was clearly not okay 6 months ago. I'm clearly not okay now. Get around to doing something about it.
Yeah.
And I hate that I like look back at it and I go, oh yes, I was doing the complete wrong thing and I should have been doing better.
Yeah. But it's like you said, it's so hard to take the courage to even take that step. So give yourself some grace and some patience for you 6 months ago and even now, because it's so hard to make that huge jump to even say, hey, what I'm doing right now is not healthy. It's not helping me or serving me at all. Go get help. And that's a hard pill to swallow.
So for you, as you created the podcast, what were some of the big takeaways that you kind of did when you started, having a conversation about this with people online?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I would say when I first started this, I decided, okay, I'm going to tell the world that I'm doing this. And for a while, I procrastinated because I was absolutely terrified of people in my everyday life knowing these deep parts of myself. Like, for example, when I first started this, I talked about how I was struggling with depression, anxiety, and I even have suffered from an eating disorder. And that was something that I literally did not tell anyone, maybe like one person, and it was my boyfriend. And for me to put that out for the public, I mean, I wasn't necessarily, this is kind of weird, I didn't really care necessarily that strangers knew my story. What really scared me was my family and my friends knowing my story, which is a bit odd because I'm like, oh, I have to see you. Like, I have to see you after I put this out, and you're going to know that these things are happening to me. So my biggest takeaway from that, though, is like just being unapologetically vulnerable, though, has done me so much good versus harm. I mean, yeah, there's been, I would say my mom. I mean, I love my mom so much. But the reality is I'm Asian American, and growing up in an Asian immigrant household, mental health is not something that's openly talked about at all. And so when I came out and I'm talking about how I have to take pills every month to be stable, and talking about, how I can't get out of bed, like my mom was like, I mean, growing up, she would tell me, oh, what do you have to be sad about? Like, I literally came on a boat to a different country after a war, and I raised 4 kids on my own, and I'm fine. I'm like, no, mother, you're not fine. You just never had the resources to deal with that. So, but overall, though, it has, even with that, with my mom, I got a little bit of pushback where she was like, what are you doing? Like, you have a podcast where you talk about your feelings? That's weird. But over time, it's actually helped facilitate really vulnerable conversations with my mom and with my family members and my friends. And it's opened up an opportunity for us to talk about those things, which has never been done before. So I think that's been the greatest takeaway.
Yeah, I definitely think it's a fascinating part, I think, about growing into adulthood, where you start to realize, especially parents who maybe don't talk about mental health that much or have a bit of an interesting relationship with mental health, you start to like see, oh, yeah, I can see where like my depression and anxiety came from. Like I can see part of this shared experience in there. The greatest discovery us children have made is that my father if my parents hear, or my siblings, well, I don't care if my siblings hear this, but if my parents hear this, A, I'm sorry, but B, I'm right. Dad has undiagnosed ADHD. It is extreme. It is like one of the most extreme cases of undiagnosed ADHD. This man is so high functioning that he does not do, like, he is just like, he seems like a great human being and is a lovely, and we love him. But he will go from berating my sister about not finishing her high school assignments to showing her the car that she's learning to drive on within the span of about 5 minutes. And we're like, those are two different extremes here. Like, you know,
Yeah.
he will,
That
we used to complain, we're like, Dad, we can't read her mind. You need to tell us what's going on. And he'll sit there and just fiddle with things and like fix stuff. And I'm like, we didn't learn anything. You just did it in front of us. Like, how are we supposed to learn how to do this if you change the oil on the car for us? I literally, every time Mum hates it. Dad tries to do as much as he can on the weekend. And I'm guessing this must be a common thing because we've seen a couple of TikToks, and Mum and I share them back between each other at this point, of like men 5 minutes before they need to leave the house. Let me just go and change the oil on the car, or let me go and like fix this, in the house.
That is so funny. I love that you send TikToks to your mom and she sends you them back. That is so
Yes,
great.
every now and then I realise that we have different tastes, and she'll send me something. I'm like, I'm not quite sure why you sent that to me, but okay, I'll take it. I'm sure I do the same to her.
Bringing it back though to the point where you're talking about our parents and how growing up, like, we probably got a lot of our things from our parents. No, I definitely have learned growing up that what I saw modeled for me as a kid, that's who I was as an adult, until I started working on my own things and realizing, oh yeah, I'm exactly like my mother in the good and bad ways. So let's maybe do some work there. What do we want to change? So no, I definitely feel that.
Yeah, it's kind of scary sometimes, I think, as we become adults, realizing how much shared experience kind of informs our reactions to things. There are... I have friends of mine who call me the eldest daughter because I'm the oldest child in a family of 10, and there was a lot of, not necessarily just responsibility placed on me. My parents didn't necessarily expect me to do a huge amount, but I put a lot of responsibility onto myself, which is definitely something that is being unpacked in therapy. But
of course.
But we, it's fascinating because it's that whole, oh, something's happened, I have to be like the Rock. I have to be like totally normal and totally fine through it all. Nothing is supposed to surprise me. Doesn't help I work as a journalist and I'm supposed to remain like incredibly level-headed and okay at all times. But like still, it's just like one of those things where you're like, oh, I'm actually not okay, and I need to stop pretending I'm okay.
Yeah. But that's such an interesting dynamic. I'm actually the youngest of 4 children.
Lucky.
You say
the
that.
Youngest child.
You say that, Sam, but let me elaborate a little more on my situation. So, I am 24. My oldest brother is going to be 40 this year. And then my sister is 37. And then my other brother, he's 36. So they are all within a year of each other. And then there's me.
You're the proper baby. Yeah.
Yeah. But I feel because there was such a huge gap, I feel like my experience is a bit unique in that I had the younger child experience where like I was spoiled by my siblings. But also I feel like I kind of had a only child experience too, because they were out of the house when I was a kid. And there are times now where I feel like I'm my older siblings' therapist in a way. Like I'm constantly having to manage their emotions, and like my brothers, they bless their souls, they always, they're best friends at some points, and then they end up like getting in a fight or something, and then they just ignore each other, and I'm over here like trying to be mediator with all of my siblings, like, hey, let's get together for Mother's Day, like let's put things aside. And it's so interesting because I'm like, I'm the youngest out of all of you. Why am I like our our planner right now. Like, what is happening? So I too feel like I've placed some responsibility on myself to be kind of like the peacemaker in the family. And sometimes I'm just like, who gave me this role? Like, how did this become my job?
Yeah, it's fascinating, and it's interesting sitting on the opposite end and knowing that by the time my youngest sibling graduates, I'll be 42. I think 42. I think I did the maths. Anyway, and knowing that, like, and he's truly the baby. So there are 10 of us children.
Wow.
And we have like 3 sets of 3. So. Me and the top 3, William and James. Then there's the middle 3. I won't get set. I've probably said their names on the podcast before, but whatever. And then there's the younger 3. And it was all great. You had like, and everyone kind of matches in personality for each of that group of 3. The oldest is like, you know, kind of quietly, you know, not quietly confident. A bit of a mess, attracts a lot of attention from the parents. And, you know, he's everything. The second is the disruptor. They're always, like, riling up the older one, but also just creating all sorts of, you know, it's my brother William. It's, you know, it's the oldest daughter in the family, and it's my sister who we nicknamed the terrorist. So, you know, they're all there to cause trouble from my perspective. And then the youngest is like this weirdly quiet, contemplative, but also has a crazy side, like, child. So, you know, it's my brother James, who, like, you know, rest in peace, is like, you know, was always there and quiet, kind of like definitely had strong opinions, and we realised was really realistically just a grumpy old man in a 21-year-old's body. And then, you know, it's my brother who looks exactly like me. And then my sister, who I once took to a birthday party, and the parents at the birthday party turned around to me and goes, "She's really quiet." I'm like, "Yeah, she is, isn't she?" And then it's my little brother, my baby brother, who I love with all, you know, he's amazing. He can do no wrong in my eyes. But he is truly the baby. And I look at it and I go, wow, you are sitting here watching me have an argument with my parents in the car while I'm back visiting for 24 hours. You're watching your older sister struggle through, you know, finishing high school, you know, because let's be honest, anyone trying to finish high school, it's a struggle, and I feel for everyone. Yeah. And then you're watching your older siblings who... I'm lucky. I am so jealous of him. He has 2 older sisters. He's going to be the most fashionable man ever. You know, he's got 3 older sisters realistically, but his oldest sister is so much older than he is that she'll probably actually take him shopping, and the younger sisters will teach him how to dress. Yeah. And I'm just jealous because I'm like, you are going to be the absolute ladies' man, and you're going to learn from all of our mistakes. No, and you're going to be telling us that we're wrong. Yeah.
Yes. I definitely got to reap the benefits of being the younger in that retrospect, because literally that's how I live my life. I always think, okay, what do I not want to do so I don't end up like my brother? Like, it sounds so bad, but I'm like, oh, okay, I don't want that to happen, because look where she is, my sister. Oh, so no, I definitely soaked up all of their wisdom and all of their mistakes, and I'm so grateful for that.
That with a side of nepotism, which, like, I'm fine with mild nepotism, you know. It's the family name that, like, every teacher in the high school knows. It's like, oh, you know, my last name's O'Brien. It's like, oh, the O'Briens are here. Or, you know, you with the contacts to kind of go, oh, yeah, you need a job. I can get you a job here. You know, it's like that. It's like, here, have a bit of nepotism to kind of, like, yeah.
That's interesting, though. How is your family dynamic with so many different personalities? I'm curious.
It's loud. It's very loud. I come home And usually I get home about midnight, usually when I fly home nowadays. So I don't usually see anyone other than, whoever's picked me up from the airport and maybe my mum. And I literally will go and sleep on the couch, and I'll wake up to the 4 youngest children, like, basically staring at me, waiting for me to wake up because they know it's me, and they're just like, oh, he's here, let's wait for him to wake up. Or they will actually wake me up. There'll be an argument as to whether they should wake me up or not. I've heard it all. Like, usually I'm awake before they are. And then I don't know, it's just very loud, there's lots of competing personalities. My siblings know exactly how to roll me up. I'll come and babysit. And I had the most adult thing happen to me where I was disciplining a child. They were stealing cookies. And I was like, you know what, you've got a problem. You need to stop stealing these cookies. And I was telling her off. Like, I wasn't like, it was like, don't steal the cookies or whatever. And my brother walks into the kitchen, and I hadn't seen him all morning. He's 18, he goes, what are all the lights on? He turns all the lights in the kitchen off. And I'm like, there are 5 of us standing in the kitchen right now. What are you doing? So I lost, because I was disciplining a child. I was angry, and I turned to my old 18-year-old brother and I yell at him, and I tell him to get out of the kitchen. And I was like, oh wow, he just riled me up so much that I just yelled at him for no reason. He just thought that there were too many lights on in the kitchen.
Yeah, you definitely had the parent experience. I don't know if you are in the future want kids, but I'm deeply terrified.
It's fascinating.
Yeah, I'm so scared of having kids because I could be having a bad day or just overstimulated, and I'm going to yell just because I'm frustrated, and that could just mess up my kid for the rest of their life. That just scares me so much.
Yeah. What I will say, and the one thing I've learnt, especially with so many newborns that I've held, children are bouncy. They're a lot more resilient than I think sometimes we give credit for. Obviously, there are things you can do to harm children long term. Child harm is a big problem, and you've got to be really careful about what you say in front of children and what they pick up and what they learn. And, but at the same time, I have watched my siblings, overcome their fears, and I've watched it go through their faces because, children, their expressions are already, every feeling they're having is on their face. And they, watch them, overcome fears or, resist the status quo. And I'm I'm so proud. You are going to be such a great human being as an adult. And I think sometimes it's just the trust in yourself that the people around me want to be around me. And if I, feel ready, it's great. It's amazing to be a part of that journey of, and part of me is I don't really want to go through this whole childbirth thing. I don't want to be permanently responsible for a child at this point in time in my life. But
no, for sure.
Having a child for a couple of months, maybe a year or two. Yeah.
Maybe we can just borrow someone's child.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, as a woman, it is, I think, a different experience when it comes to the topic of children. When I tell my friends right now, oh yeah, I'd be okay if I didn't have kids, I think I'd be okay, they look at me like I'm crazy. I just said something so awful. Because I have friends who... Yes. I have friends who just really want to be moms, and I love that for them. I do have friends who are also on the same boat with me, but I mean, the collective opinion whenever I say, yeah, I think I'd be okay if I don't have children, a lot of I'm an adult, but older women will say, oh, just wait, you'll change your mind. And I'm just I don't know. Childbirth is... it does a lot to you, and I don't know if I'm ready for all that.
It's such a fascinating opinion that, like, it's like, oh, just wait, you know, you'll love having children. I'm like, look, I love the concept of having, like, a little child running around. I have also witnessed the bad. Like, you know, there is good and bad, and the bad isn't fun. The bad makes you cry. Like,
Yeah.
it's, you know, it's not a fun set of place to be in. So,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's frustrating. But what was I going to say? It's, yeah, I find it so fascinating that people seem to think that you have to, or like you have to want to.
Yeah.
It's not like, there are so many factors. And like, even my parents, who have had 10 children, you know, and it's from the same set of parents, just to you know, make it very clear, they've both decided that they both wanted to have this many children. And but like, you know, even my parents have turned around and were like, there's a lot of decision making. You've got to be really ready to, like, have a child in your home.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'm happy with waiting until I feel completely ready.
Yeah, I think people get baby fever and they just get excited with the concept of a cute little child, but then you don't think of all the other things that you need to do and all the decisions that you have to make, and you are the sole person responsible for this being to become a good human. And it's a lot. Yeah, I think especially me being in a long-term relationship, I've been with my boyfriend for going on 7 years now, and so they are,
wow, amazing.
Yeah, it's not, there's certainly been some ups and downs. So yeah, but
all relationships have,
right, I constantly have people ask me like, oh, well, when is he gonna pop the question, when are y'all gonna have kids? And no, I'm just like, I'm so young. I feel I am an adult. I'm classified as one, but I don't feel like one, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I definitely feel like that. There is like that moment in your 20s where you're like, oh, I had a small experience of this moment earlier this year. It's like, oh, I am 20 something. That is like incredibly far away from being a child. You know, I have been an adult for 5 years. It's like, oh gosh, do I really feel like an adult? No, I don't. I think I came to the realization of how much closer 23 is to 30 than it is to, you know, 15, 16. And it's like, oh, that's I'm halfway there. Yep,
definitely sends you in a crisis sometimes. But I've also realized, exactly. I've also realized though that we have this idea that adults have it all together, and I'm quickly learning in my adulthood that nobody knows what they're doing whatsoever. I talk to like 40, 50-year-olds and they're like, yeah, you know, they're still a mess. So that brings me comfort. Knowing that, yeah, everyone's just winging it.
Yeah. I'm very glad that there are so many people winging it out there. And I think I've been really lucky. The workplaces I've workplaces I've been a part of, I've been able to kind of see people older than me who obviously like have part of their life together, but don't have it all. Like, it's not someone who's got it all together. And so you get to kind of go, oh, it's totally fine for me to not have this sorted. That, and being constantly reminded that at the ripe old age of 22, I've only been out of uni for 2 years, and I shouldn't feel like I need to be super successful in my career right now.
Your high school experience and university, we're all told, like, this is the process. We go to the class, we learn the things, we have assignments given to us and tasks, and then once you're out, there's no one telling you, oh yeah, you need to show up and do this. And you're just like, what? what is happening? Where do I go? No one's telling me anything. Yeah. So it's definitely an interesting experience, realizing like, oh, I have complete freedom of choice in how my life goes.
It's fascinating watching how people interact with that freedom of choice. Sometimes people go into like full panic and other people are like super chill. My brother is one of those people who are super chill. He's like, you know what, I'm just happy to wait a year to figure out what I want to do. Like, he's finished high school, he wants to go to college, but doesn't necessarily want to go unless he's 100% certain on what he wants to do. And in Australia, university is a lot more focused. You don't do any general ed classes or anything. You go straight into, the career you want to do. So I did journalism work from my first year all the way through to the end of my degree. But I just some people are super chill. And I remember saying to my parents, they were like, are you 100% sure you want to go to uni? And I said, if I don't go now, I won't ever go. I need to go because I can't, I've got this momentum, I've got to keep going. And that mild panic of like, don't let myself have too much choice because I need to do something and need to sort myself out before I realize I don't have to make a choice right now.
Yeah. No, that's definitely me. I'm the one who panics. I'm not a chill person. Even though I want to be, I'm not.
So looking forward, obviously, the podcast is doing amazing. I'm loving watching it happen. Where are you hoping the podcast and having it, obviously then these conversations by extension, will take you?
Oh man, when I started this, I didn't think anything was going to come of it. And so I didn't expect it to get to where it is now. I mean, I'm still a small account, but just the amount of connections I've made with people have really blown me away. And now, I guess, moving forward, I really want to double down and really take it seriously, because I feel like I started it back in August, and around October, I have like seasonal depression. So from October all the way to about January, it's just sadness. It's just dark. So I took a break. From October to, I would say, end of February this year. And I started it back up again, literally like March 1st. And from March to now, it's mid-May. Just the fact that I've taken this time to put in the effort the way that I have, it has grown exponentially. And so that has just given me motivation in knowing that I'm doing something right, or I hope so, and that people are resonating with it and connecting with it. And my hopes for the podcast, I would say, is just reaching more people and really honing down on like sourcing guests who align with the message. Like, I really want to highlight more people's stories of their resilience, and I kind of want to create a community. Like, I want this to become a real space for people to connect and just share in their stories. So I don't have plans for that yet, but I have ideas. I've thought about maybe making like a little workshop thing where people can attend virtually. But yeah, my plans moving forward is just more connection, more reach, and yeah.
Yeah. What have you done since teaching? Obviously, you left your job and kind of started this while you were figuring out what you wanted to do. Have you figured out what you were looking for in professional side of things?
Very good question. I would like to say that I am not as lost as I was last year. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
I basically spent from August to January unemployed. And my boyfriend was the one who was financially supporting us. What a slay.
Love it.
And
I love having two incomes. So one of you guys, like, I think it's the greatest part about like having two people who work is that like at any point someone could drop their job and try to figure out their life. And I think that's a really useful part of like having people who like being in a relationship with someone who also works.
Yes, and I'm so grateful for that time. It definitely did not come easy because I was like, I don't like relying on people, but I needed it. I definitely needed it. So for work, after around like January, I was like, I can't sit here anymore. Like, I feel like I kind of tie my worth to how productive I am, which is, you know, that's a conversation for therapy. But I teach virtually now. That's the short answer. So It's not my end game. I mean, I love it. I love that I still get a taste of teaching because I did miss doing that. But interestingly, I actually have moved into the world of entrepreneurship. And you're actually one of the first strangers that I'm telling this to. I talked about this a little bit in my most recent episode, but the past, like 7 months, entrepreneurship has been floating around in my boyfriend and I's minds, and he actually comes from a family of entrepreneurs. I had more humble beginnings, but his parents owned a restaurant, and so he was like, hey, what if we like ended up getting our own business? And so again, I'm not a risk taker whatsoever. I like security, but there's a point where I was thinking, okay, well, I left something I was really passionate about, so whatever I do next, I want it to be worth it. I want it to be something that is like going to be like my wildest dreams. And I guess, excuse my language, but I was like, all right, fuck it, like we're just gonna we're gonna go for it. And for the past 7 months, we've been trying to acquire our own business, and it's been a journey. So we've been doing that. I've been on a search for getting a business so we can become owners. But in the meantime, I have been teaching virtually just to get some money and income. And he works in the tech world, so he's solid. But yeah, so
tech pays.
But I think
unlike teaching.
Yeah, exactly. I think the podcast though is something that I want to incorporate in whatever business it is we're going to get into, just because I feel like podcasting would be a great funnel and complement the business. So
yeah, it's such a like, and I love the way you phrased it, where I've left something I really love, so the next thing needs to be really worth it.
Yeah.
And I love that attitude of like, I'm worth it. I've made decisions because I'm worth it. So I need to make sure my next decision is also because I'm worth it.
Yeah.
And I love that mindset. That's amazing.
Yeah. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. And yeah, I'm so happy to have connected with you. Hopefully next time we chat, you'll be talking about starting your own business.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for having me on. It's been such a joy talking, and I had fun laughing with you and making self-deprecating jokes.
Look, we've got to do it somehow, right?
Yeah.
For those who want to connect with you more, where can people find you on the internet?
Yes, so if you would like to connect with me, I'm on Instagram and TikTok and YouTube at Bear and Brutal Podcast. It's the same on all platforms. And yeah, please come and give me some feedback, message me. I'm so open to connecting with people, and I would love to Yeah, just welcome your audience with open arms.
And has there been anything that you've been reading, watching, listening to that you wanted to plug?
So, I actually have 2 recommendations for books I'm currently diving in right now. The first one is The Mountain Is You. So I know that your podcast is really centered around like mental health and still living your life through those struggles. And I feel like The Mountain is You. It's by Brianna Wiest. I hope I said her last name right. But it's all about transforming self-sabotage, because that's something I definitely struggle with. And being aware of your cycles of self-sabotage so that you can move forward and become self-mastery instead. So that's one. It's an easy read. It's very, very powerful. And then the second one is The Body Keeps the Score. I think this is something, I don't know, you might see a lot on TikTok, but it is a more clinical approach book. But I literally read through the first 2 pages and I immediately started like ugly sobbing. So definitely if you decide to read this, just know that you should be in a good mind space for it. But it just talks about how the trauma that we go through lives in our bodies and it has to be released. And so that's also been helpful on my journey of healing. And I feel like those 2 recommendations would be really insightful for your listeners. At least I hope so.
Yeah. You can find me at sam.the.journalist on Instagram and on TikTok. You can find the podcast, Content the Letter and Capable. There seems to be more happening on the podcast than my personal social media at this point. But this week I'm going to plug, because it got me in the feels last night, Newsies. It's on Disney Plus. Watch the Broadway version with Jeremy Jordan because Jeremy Jordan reasons. If you want something that's like feel good and really lovely and light and probably really makes light of quite a vicious and ugly, battle that, people had to be paid fairly, definitely watch that. It's lovely. It's amazing. Everyone's so talented in that cast. It's every high school musical theatre department's wet dream, where it's a whole bunch of men who can sing and dance. So, watch it and enjoy it. So incredibly, I cannot believe I have not seen this before. And I'm going to get so many messages of people who are like, how have you not seen this before? Big musical theatre fan, have just not seen Newsies before. So I feel like next is Rent for me, because I haven't seen that either. I'm missing the big ones. But yes, thank you very much for coming on the podcast. Yet again, it's been absolutely such a blast, and I'm looking forward to seeing what adventures you get up to.
Thank you so much, and we're gonna stay connected forever now.
Definitely.
Yeah.
There's no escaping. Content and Capable was recorded, edited and produced by Samuel O'Brien. You can follow the podcast at Content, the letter N, Capable on Instagram, and you can find it on Facebook. You can also send an email through to contentandcapablepod@gmail.com with any of your thoughts, queries or concerns. The best way to support the podcast is to leave a review on your preferred podcatcher so more people can hear the podcast. The art was done by Opia, and the music was written, edited and produced by Jason Hilton. Content and Capable is proud to be a part of the Deus Ex Media Network, where you can find a podcast for any of your nerdy interests.
I'm Christina Kahn.
And I'm Leela Hilton.
And this is Burn Before Reading,
the podcast about shiterature.
We're here to examine the terrible writing we did when we were younger.
Like that school project you were really proud of.
Or that poem you wrote when you got dumped.
Well, how about that apology letter you wrote to your mom when you got into that fight?
Or the song you recorded before you knew how to write music.
Okay, don't at me. And we're here to talk about other cringy literary topics along the way.
Like the Library of Alexandria.
and Dewey Decimal.
His name was Melville Dewey.
Oh, well, do we want to get the clips rolling?
I don't think I ever recovered from this in terms of being cool.
Why did I say any of this?
I do like the drama.
So there is actually quite a bit to unpack here.
Oh, all this drama was so addictive as a teenager.
There's no punctuation to it. I'll start with that.
I actually have no memory of this.
There were so many lies that I was telling it.
It's not terrible.
No one really taught me how to write a good short story.
That was a journey.
Listen to Burn Before Reading
Every Wednesday, wherever pods are cast.
Thank you for listening to Content and Capable. Don't forget to rate and review, and we'll see you next week for another episode.
Deus Ex Media.